Hello everyone, and welcome to Left of Meta! The idea behind this series is to highlight some decent to good sets that can be good for either newer players who want a good starting point to work from, or for older players who just want to mess around and look at some of the sets that aren't Reliquin, Sororia, Yolnahkrin, and Olorime for their DPS tanks and healers. And before we get into the actual sets, a couple of very quick ground rules. First off, these sets will always be overland, PvP, crafted sets, or base game dungeons. And they will be tested alongside other sets, which will be listed in the video and linked in the description below. For the most part, those sets will be Leviathan from Crypt of Parts and the Maelstrom Bow for stamina characters, Mother's Sorrow from Deshawn and the Maelstrom Staff for Magicka characters, Spell Power Cure and the Master's Resto Staff from White Gold Tower for healers, and Ebon Armory for tanks. This video also includes the Concentrated Force set from Asylum Sanctorum. And with that out of the way, let's roll into today's set. This week's set is called Frostbite. It drops in Overland in Blackwood, and it's a newer set, so it's currently going to be expensive on guild stores, and a Frost Staff from it drops from the quest Haunted Legacy. This set gives the following benefits. At 2 items, it adds 129 spell damage. At 3 items, it adds 657 spell critical. At 4 items, it adds 129 spell damage. And at 5 items, it increases your damage done with frost abilities by 8%, increase your damage done against chilled enemies by 4%, and increase your damage done against enemies affected with minor brittle by 2%. All in all, this set gives a pretty big buff to a frost damage build. A total of 14% if you have everything rolling at once, and a 6% buff if you're targeting enemies that are chilled or unaffected with minor brittle, which for the most part supports in a group will be doing. So all in all, it's a pretty decent damage boost. However, part of the problem with this set is that it relies on frost damage, which there aren't a ton of frost damage skills, even if you're playing a warden whose entire magic theme is frost damage. And for the most part, frost skills tend to sacrifice the bonus damage that you would get from a different skill for something else. And secondly, this requires a proc to happen. You need to have consistent chill or brittle, which means you either need to be forcing chilled or brittle with, say, the Asylum Sanctorum staff, or you need to be focused around keeping chilled and brittle up on the target to keep up your damage. All in all, this set is kind of bad. First off, most of its damage bonus comes from that 8% increase to frost damage, which, for the most part, frost damage as a DPS damage type is very low. There's not a ton of actual skills, and most of the damage-focused skills are nerfed in some way. Either Wall of Elements literally dealing less damage if you're on a Frost Staff, or Elemental Ring dealing less damage than either the Shock or Fire version, and instead granting a near useless buff. And the other problem is that 6% of your total damage from this set relies on getting lucky and having the uptime on brittle and chill, which, unless you have someone specifically doing that in your group, you're going to not have that 6% damage buff most of the time, which is not going to go well for you. But that is all we have for this week. Join us next week where we talk about the final Overland set, Bog Raider. I hope you all enjoy, and I will see you all next time. And until then, Good luck, stay safe, and don't die.